it to us in a written format rather than just verbal.
So that was basically it. Okay, good. Okay, any questions or comments by committee for the staff? Appearing to be none, is there a motion to recommend to the HART Board of Directors that they adopt revisions to the HART Board Policy 430.02, Substance Abuse Policy, as presented by staff? Do we have a motion?
I'll move. So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, any discussion on the motion? Appearing to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much. We don't need, that doesn't need to be roll call, does it? On these? Okay, good deal. Thank you. All right, committee committee action items with presentations. Next on the agenda are our committee action items with presentation reviewed by the committee for recommendations for approval by the full HART Board of Directors. First, item 5A, to recommend to the HART Board of Directors approve the fiscal year 2026 through 2035 TDP Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report to submit to the Florida Department of Transportation. Ms. Heather Sobers, Director of Planning and Scheduling, you're recognized to share your presentation in support of this committee action item.
Good morning. How do I make it? Oh, thank you. Okay. So the Transit Development Plan, also known as the TDP, is a multi-year financial and operating plan for a transit agency. Okay. So the Florida Department of Transportation requires that public transit providers receiving state funding have to develop and adopt a TDP. Major updates are required every 5 years, and then in the interim years, we conduct annual progress reports. So right now we are in our third annual progress report. And so following approval of this item, we will begin our next major update, which will be due in March 2027. So the deadline recently changed from September to March. So we have 3 progress reports this cycle instead of 4. The revised rule also requires enhanced collaboration with the TPO. And then we moved it up to line it up. They moved the deadline up to line it up better with the budget cycle. So these are the requirements for the annual progress report. We look at the past year's accomplishments compared to what was planned for in the last major update. And then we also have the opportunity to make any revisions to reflect changes in our implementation plan. The APR also includes a new 10th year for the implementation and financial plan, and then a revised list of projects or services to meet our goals and objectives. Sorry. So, sorry, I need to move this. So, we also have the opportunity to reflect our accomplishments over the last year in our annual progress report. So obviously we've had, one of our major successes has been our fare-free Route 1. It's fare-free through January 4th of 2026, and that was through funding from the City of Tampa. This route was selected because it's our future BRT service route. And then we've had a lot of success since the pilot. We've had over 5,000 weekday ridership and 2,500 weekend ridership. Weekends a little lower because the frequency is not as good as it is on weekdays. So we offer better service, faster speeds, and then thankfully for the City of Tampa, we will actually the fares will come back in January, but we will be continuing the frequency improvements on the weekdays and also offering better frequency on the evenings and weekends. Okay, clicker, work, okay. We've also, we have currently underway our comprehensive operational analysis. So this involves us reviewing our entire system and proposing short-term improvements. This COA, as it's also called, is conducted every 5 to 7 years. That's an industry best practice, and it was recommended by the DOT that we conduct one of these. So right now, well, not right now, we just concluded public outreach. So we had a formal public outreach period from September to October. We presented this to the TPO board and committees in October, and then the proposed service changes would go into effect in June 2026. Thank you. Okay. Also, over the last year, we've conducted a lot of other outreach. So we've done some summer youth presentations, the Great American Teach-In, hurricane preparedness to senior centers, and then also outreach associated with helping riders understand how to use the Flamingo Fairs when the paper passes were eliminated. And then, of course, our other major project is our heavy maintenance facility. So phase 1 is fully funded, and that'll involve replacing the fleet service facility, security fencing and lighting, stormwater improvements, and this will support our future fleet of 250 CNG buses. The TDP also includes our transit needs, our funded needs, and our unfunded needs. So funded needs include maintaining our existing services, maintaining the Route 1 frequency improvements, again, thanks to City of Tampa. And then on the capital side, looking at our heavy maintenance facility, replacement of our diesel buses, which is an ongoing program, replacement of our paratransit vehicles, and our CAT AVL system. And then it also includes unfunded needs. So unfunded needs would be to bring back frequency. We have a lot of 60-minute routes, so to bring back frequency on a lot of our higher ridership routes, which are all listed here. And then the next steps are to submit the TDP APR. It's actually not due till March, but we're going to go ahead and submit early so we can kick off our major update and give ourselves a lot of time to conduct that. So this is an action item, as Commissioner Schizler said, to recommend to the HART Board of Directors to approve the Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report that we will then submit to the Florida Department of Transportation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Do we have any questions or comments for staff by the committee? Ms. Williams?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Heather. Question, did we get out of the plan what we expected to get when we launched this in June of last year? What was our expectation? More ridership and more frequent bus routes?
For the Route 1?
Yes.
Yes, we did. We actually have seen really good ridership increases. We looked at I think I have a Route 1 presentation later, but we looked at the whole corridor between Florida Avenue and Nebraska, and overall ridership has grown between those two routes. So we're definitely seeing new riders that didn't ride before, and I know there's been some efforts to have like ride-alongs, and I think there was one last Friday that Councilmember Hurtak planned.
Thank you. In regards to the June 26th ask, we're going back to the city to ask for additional funds, or are we putting it in our budget to continue from January 1st going forward? Which?
Yes. So the City Council in early October at their council meeting approved $1.35 million to increase the frequency on evenings and weekends and to maintain the frequency on weekdays.
Okay, so it's already funded through June 26th.
It's funded from January to the following January, so for the calendar year of 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, the frequency changes are funded, not the free fare. Free fare goes away.
Correct.
Okay, just so everybody's on the same page with that.
Thank you. So then that is my question. If we're going to maintain the frequency, how do we plan to fund it? Is that already allocated in our budget going forward, or is that something Melanie is going to talk about when she comes up to present?
It's in the budget for calendar year 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, it's not included in the budget. the increase is not included in the budget.
So if I may, Chair.
Okay, okay. All right.
So the improvements on the Route 1 is funded by the 1.3 is funded by the city, which will give us the frequency improvements for the whole calendar year of '26. The free fares go away, but it doesn't affect HART's budget at all.
Okay, so we will charge going forward?
Yes,
And that will care for the frequency, and then we also have it incorporated within the budget for the frequency?
yes.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying. Thanks, Heather.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page with that. Cool. Any other questions or comments? Okay, appearing to be none. Is there a motion to recommend the HART Board of Directors approve item 5A and advance it to the full Board of Directors at the next board meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on the item? Appearing to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I do have one quick question, and it's not necessarily related to the item. How are we going to be communicating the change in the fare structure for that line going forward, or is that later in the
So
presentation?
we actually have a presentation.
Okay, I'll shut my mouth then. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 5B, recommend to the HART Board of Directors to approve the HART Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, PTASP, and authorize the submittal of a certification of the Florida Department of Transportation. Richard Campbell, HART's Chief Safety Officer, you're recognized to provide an overview of the item.
Good morning, Chair, Directors, Mr. Drainville. My name is Richard Campbell. I'm the Chief Safety Officer, and I will be presenting the PTASP update. Federal Code of Regulations 49 CFR 673 and 674, along with FDOT State Safety Oversight Plan, requires operators of public transit systems that receive FTA funds to develop a PTASP. The PTASP regulation intends to improve public transit safety by guiding transit agencies more effectively and proactively to manage risk in their systems. It requires certain recipients and subrecipients of FTA funds that operate public transit agencies to develop and implement safety plans that establish processes and procedures to support safety management system, SMS. SMS is a comprehensive collaborative approach to managing safety. It brings management and labor together to control risk, detect and correct safety problems early, and share and analyze safety data more effectively and measure safety performance more precisely. FTA requirements for annual updates. Before December 1st, HART must review the PTASP, ensure that it is current and in compliance with federal rules and FDOT, our State Safety Oversight Program Plan. HART must submit the PTASP to FDOT for review by December 1st, with board approval indicating that HART PTASP is current and in compliance, or that the PTASP needs update and comply with a FDOT program standard. The HART staff works with my office, the accountable executive, and HART management to update the safety plan and record and evaluate the PTASP and its effectiveness. The Chief Safety Officer forwards the updated PTASP to FDOT, to our SSO for comments and review. The FDOT SSO returns the HART PTASP with comments to my office, and then we, if they have no comments, then we approve it. If they do, then we'll correct those improvements. FDOT comments on the HART PTASP are reviewed and addressed by my office and the Manager of Safety and Security. The document is reviewed with my office and Manager of Safety and Security. We update it annually and present to the HART Operations and Safety Committee, the Joint Safety Committee that is comprised of labor and management, then recommended for approval to the full board and the CEO. The HART PTASP is approved by resolution from the HART Board of Directors and is submitted to FDOT and our SSO. The approved plan is published and distributed to all HART managers and pertinent HART members and implemented according to the established distribution list. So we posted on our Connect page. The action item is recommending the HART Board of Directors approve the HART Public Transit Agency Safety Plan, or PTASP, and authorize the submittal of its certification to FDOT.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Any
you for the
questions?
presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions from staff, from committee members for staff? Appearing to be none, is there a motion to recommend to the HART Board of Directors to approve item 5B in advance of the full Board of Directors to the next board meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion on the item? Appearing to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The last committee item is the item 5C. Recommend to the HART Board of Directors ratify the labor contract with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 79, and authorize the chairperson of the HART Transit Authority Board of Directors and the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract with Teamsters Local 79 for the period of ratification by the HART Board of Directors, November 3rd, 2025 to September 30th, 2027. Sean McCarthy, HART Chief Operations Officer, you are recognized to provide an overview of the item.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Chairman Chisler, members of the committee, and CEO Drainville. This item is before you for your approval to advance to the full board a 3-year contract between HART and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 79. As you know, the board heard impasse arguments on the 7th of this month. I am pleased to announce that the contract was ratified by the membership on October 16th. Seek board approval on November 3rd, which will be the final step in the ratification of the new agreement. It's technically a 3-year labor agreement with the Teamsters that updated work rules and pay rates. If approved, the contract will technically go into effect on the 3rd of November, but it will be a 3-year contract. Contract term is October of 24 to the end of September 27. The last time HART came before the board to ratify this contract was in June of 2022. Just to give you a brief overview of what the Teamsters do for us here at HART, the Teamsters essentially provide the conduit between management and the frontline rank and file personnel. So these are the various jobs that they do. They work in our operations control center, they work out on the street managing the service, and they work throughout our maintenance infrastructure and are a critical piece of HART's success. As we do with all our collective bargaining, when we set out at the beginning of it, we look to continue to lead as an employer of choice, and most importantly, to keep the employees we have, but also to be able to entice and recruit new employees into these critical positions for us, hopefully from within the agency. An overview of the bargaining. We began active negotiations in June of 2024. Met with the Teamsters Executive Committee as well as their regional director. Tentative agreements were reached and presented to the membership on 2 separate occasions, one in December of 24, one in January of 25. Both of those times, the membership failed to ratify the agreement. Following HART impasse proceedings on October 7th, 2025, the tentative agreement was passed to the membership, presented to the membership on October 16th. The ratification was made in favor of 32 yes votes and 2 no votes. Contract negotiations spanned over 13 sessions with 100 hours of negotiation between management and labor. Contract highlights. So for fiscal years 25 and 26, they received a wage increase of 8.16%, and in the final year, a wage increase of 4.0%, for a total financial impact to HART of $563,000. We find this contract to be sustainable and provide the operational improvements that we were seeking in negotiations. Most importantly, the clarification of the emergency provision. There was no retroactivity and there was no ratification bonus as a part of this agreement. So the action item is that Finance and Audit Committee recommends the HART Board of Directors ratify the labor contract with Teamsters Local 79 and authorize the chairperson of the HART Board of Directors and the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract with Teamsters Local 79 for the period from the date of ratification by the board, which will be November 3rd of 25 to September 30th, 2027. I'd be happy to entertain any questions from the committee.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Good presentation. Any questions for staff by committee members?
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Can you go over a little on I think the first year 8%, and it are consistent with, you know, the other contracts that's gonna be coming up, some of the pros and cons, and, you know, I know 2 times it didn't ratify.
Right, so
What changed?
to answer the first part of your question, Director, the 4% for the year that just concluded was consistent with what we budgeted. It was just a byproduct of the fact that they didn't ratify their contract. So that was compiled over 2 years, so we're essentially where we would be had they ratified back when they have the opportunity to do so. My opinion is the primary reason that they did not ratify in either one of those occasions was their reluctance to give up a provision related to their emergency pay during hurricanes and other such circumstances, which was one of the 2 main reasons that we had to go to impasse. But once the board made their recommendation at impasse, you know, I hate to speak for what the membership thought or didn't think, but I think they finally believed that it was within their best interest to, you know, to pass the contract. And that's speculation. That's Sean McCarthy talking. That's not the Teamsters talking.
So that's reflected on 2 years, not 1 year.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions?
One other one, just thank you for your presentation, but by doing this, we're avoiding any retroactive provision going back to the preceding year.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
But we're still spending the money. Okay, any other questions? Appearing to be none. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Is there a motion to recommend to the HART Board of Directors approving item 5C and advance it to the full Board of Directors at the next board meeting?
So moved.
We have a second?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
there is not a document attached to this agenda item, so we can't take a vote on that at this time. Am I missing?
I thought that came out on Friday.
Oh, go to the next page. Sorry about that.
Okay. I'll start over. We had to entertain a motion to recommend to the full HART Board.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on the motion? Appear to be none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda are committee action, committee action items. Oh, okay, I know what this is. All right, never mind. I'm reading it wrong. This is to recommend to the HART Board of Directors to delegate contracting officer authority to Brian Horn, Chief Financial Officer, to execute purchases and enter into contracts on behalf of the HART at a not-to-exceed amount of $500,000. Ms. Ickerfus, Director of Procurement, you're recognized to introduce this item.
Good morning, Committee Chair, Committee Directors, and Mr. Drainville. My name's Kathy Zigafus, Director of Procurement and Contracts. I'm going to just review the committee action item to recommend the HART Board of Directors delegate contracting authority to Brian Horn, Chief Financial Officer, and execute purchase orders or purchases and enter into contracts on behalf of HART in a not-to-exceed amount of $500,000. The HART Procurement Manual establishes in Section 2-100 that the Board of Directors confer by resolution of the Board of Directors to delegate contracting officer authority to Brian Horn to execute purchases, to enter into contracts on behalf of the authority. This individual is recommended to the Board of Directors by the Chief Executive Officer. So the recommendation is that the Joint Finance and Audit and Operations and Safety Committee review the action item recommending the HART Board of Directors contracting officer authority to Brian Horn, Chief Financial Officer, to execute purchase orders, enter into contracts on behalf of HART in a not-to-exceed amount of $500,000, and advance this item to the full HART Board of Directors at the November 3rd board meeting.
Okay, do we have any questions?
Thank you for your presentation. This would be consistent with past practices?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Lieber?
And just as a follow-up, this really is just placing Mr. Horn in for the previous CFO. There's no other changes on this, correct?
No, there's not. So at this point then, Ms. Kirks no longer serves in the role of the CFO position, and Mr. Horn is in the position, so it's giving him that same authority.
Mr. Hartfield?
Is our policy written that it has to be name specific, or is it title specific?
It's name specific.
Is there any rationale to that?
No, I can't explain any rationale, but in the past, it has been presented that I personally thought it was the title, but it was not. It's actually the named person, so. And that's in our HART policy.
Okay.
Right.
And you're okay with $500,000 being that threshold?
Yeah, so I'm confident with that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Let me add too that it doesn't change any of the process as far as coming to the board, et cetera. So that process doesn't change with this.
Yeah, the approval process still stays in place. It would require board action for something like that to occur, but it just gives him the authority to sign off on it. And I believe legal had reviewed the name specific versus title specific, so that there was a conscious effort and decision by the board to pass on that power from one person to the next. So I don't really see a problem with the name specific being there. Otherwise, it can get lost in the weeds. So, okay. All right, is there a motion to recommend the HART Board of Directors approve item 6A in advance to the full Board of Directors at the next board meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on the motion? Appearing to be none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Next are presentations. All right, first is the Operations and Maintenance Monthly Metrics Report for June, July, August, and September for 2025 from Mr. Anthony Haywood. Haywood, Director of Bus Operations. Then it will be Mr. James Secor, Director of Paratransit. Mr. Nicholas Goldburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance. Dale Smith, Director of Facilities. Thank you for the air conditioning. It is very cold up here. Mr. Richard, and the elevator is working. Thank you very much. And Mr. Richard Campbell, Chief Safety Officer. Mr. Hayward, you are recognized.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair, the directors, CEO of Drainville, and staff. I will be presenting the operation for fixed route, our metrics for the previous 4 months. My first slide talks about all 4 modes of our on-time performance and where we landed for the last 4 months. We have been steady in all 4 modes in our level of meeting our OTP goals and the consistency level of all 4 modes, as well as our ridership. Total ridership was 1,048,889 for all 4 modes. But for fixed route, we stayed consistent with 889,814. So we basically stay at that level. That was June and July. That's the start of our summer push. As well as for our August and September, we again, school starts back in August and September, so we saw a steady level of ridership for fixed route. As well as all 4 modes. Again, our trend for our 6-month ridership for all, again, we look at June and July. If we see a dip, that was because of the start of our summertime break. But as we hit back to August again for our school back in session, we went back up to our normal level and maintained our normal level of ridership. As well as our weekly ridership, again, our Route 1 dominates our ridership on a weekly level, as well as the 6 and the 34 and the 400. Again, for August as well as September. we stay consistent with our ridership. For our June and July, excuse me, for our June and July on-time performance, we stayed in the 70th percentile. July, we was at 75.8% for local routes. That is consistent for us at this time. We have made several improvements to try to reach our level of on-time performance, but we wanted to stay consistent. One of the things we were definitely proud about, though we don't have it in the slides, last year's on-time performance for August and September, August was 67% and September was 69%, but we was able to maintain our 70% across the summertime as well as when school started back in for our on-time performance. We are continuously making routes changes as well as schedule changes to continue to increase our on-time performance to reach our ultimate goal. Ridership based off of on-time performance, again, our Route 1 dominates as well as our Route 6 and 34, so we stay consistent. We had a little slight dip in July for our Route 1, but we did maintain to come back to stay steady. Route 1 is our busiest route that we have, of course, because of our free fares at this point, but we still maintained a level of consistency that we try to do for August and September. We are also very proud of the fact that even with all the challenges and changes that we have on fixed route, we complete 99% of our trips for June and July, as well as for August and September. So we're very proud that we are able to complete our trips, even though we may have issues and struggles throughout the summertime routes. For that, I take any questions that you may have for fixed route.
Do you have any questions? Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Sikora, for the presentation.
So I'm Mr. Hayward. Mr. Sikora is back there.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I'm already looking at the next one. Thank you for correcting me. Your name is the most lovely thing in the world, so I want to make sure I get that right. At least lovely sound in the world. So.
We try to have the deep voice going.
Yes, thank you. So you talked about the great work that's being done, and you can see that in the numbers and so forth. And you also talked about the issues and struggles. For me, I like to understand, what is that experience when we don't make the on-time route, when we're not on time? You know, sometimes we hear customers say, wow, I had to wait another hour, or we had to do something else. And I don't have a frame of understanding of what that process is, and would just like for you to come back in the future to take us through the flow chart or something that happens when we're not on time, or does another bus come the next hour? Do we insert one, and so forth? And if you could share that with us, I very much appreciate it. I like to have those intelligent conversations with people when they share things with me, and then also, you know, recognize good work as well.
Yes, ma'am. We'll definitely do that for you.
Any other questions? I did have one. The taxi exchange, I don't know what you want to call it. Is that improving? Is that getting easier financially for us, or can anybody answer that?
Yeah, I'll take. So financially, absolutely. So we're between the hours change where we're no longer running on the weekends, and we're running only between 8 a.m. and 5. And combined with the fact that we're making an intentional effort not to send any of our overflow HART Plus trips to Yellow Cab, we're saving about $120,000 a month.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good, because that was getting to be a big number.
It was.
And one final question, and this may or may not be for you. Anybody have the guts to make a prediction of what's going to happen on January 5th with ridership on the Route 1?
I mean, I do believe that at least for the first 90 days, it'll still be at a high level until a lot of the ridership came to Route 1 off of Route 400. They ride the same corridor, but just a few blocks over. So I think a lot of riders may go back over to the 400, but I still believe the Route 1 for at the least 90 days after we start fares again, it'll still be high when we come back to the committee.
How big a drop was there in the 400?
It wasn't a big drop, but it was, you saw the significant change, yeah.
Okay, because I was wondering, with no longer free, how many people are gonna, even with the increased frequencies, how many are still gonna participate?
Participate in a, yeah.
Okay, all right, cool, thank you. Because it was, the 1 and the 6 go back and forth. you
Yeah,
know,
and
every
the
month
ridership and-
it was going back.
Yes, sir.
Now
I mean,
it's-
the 6 may overtake the 1 again, but we'll have to wait and see. But
Okay.
the 6 is a very popular route as well.
Okay, so double tiers. Okay, cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Appear to be none. Okay, Mr. James Secor.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, CEO Drainville. Good morning, committee members. Today, I'm going to review the metrics for our paratransit operation, or HART Plus, for the last 6 months. There we go. All right, this slide illustrates our paratransit trip volume for the last 6 months. As you can see, trip counts for the months of April and May stayed pretty consistent, followed by a 26% drop in June as we entered the summer months, largely due to students being on break. In July, trip volume began to rebound, increasing by 7%, and by August, we saw a 12% jump, surpassing 24,000 trips combined for the month. In September, the growth trend continued with an additional 2% increase in total trip volume. Seasonal patterns affect trip volume, but the overall trend reflects a growing demand for paratransit services. On-time performance remains one of our most critical measures of success. Our OTP for the last 2 quarters was 87%. This metric tells us how effective we're balancing capacity, scheduling, and service delivery. While there are always operational challenges beyond our control, like traffic, no-shows, cancellations, we've implemented several strategies to maintain consistent reliability. Continuous coordination between customer service, dispatch, scheduling, and operators remain key to improving this metric moving forward. And that's all I have. If there are any questions, I'm available. I'm ready.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Meeberg.
Thank you. Would you mind pulling up page 16 on your slide? I want to back one more page, please. There we go.
Yeah.
When I look at this, am I correct to conclude that of our paratransit total volume, roughly half goes to Yellow Cab?
Yes, sir. Half was going to Yellow Cab until June when we modified their service hours from they were operating the same hours as HART Plus, but in June we tailored their hours to Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 and 5, and so we saw a reduction there. But they're doing, I guess, a quarter of that now.
So a reduction starting in June based on those changes. And then the other conclusion that I think I understand from this graph is that of whatever Yellow Cab ridership does exist, the majority, if not, well north of 90% of them are single rider trips.
Yes, sir.
And then the other question that I had was, since one of our key metrics is on-time performance within this category of transit, how is it that we qualify an on-time trip when we're using the Yellow Cab services, or at least what remains of it?
Well, we actually we receive their metrics on a weekly basis, so we incorporate their on-time performance with ours as well. So we're measuring their on-time pickup window.
So, and this, I apologize for getting into my education questions. So there's a request to dispatch, and then that establishes an on-time window for when the vehicle arrives to pick up that passenger. Mm-hmm. Am I understanding?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
So they have about 85% of their trips are on demand. So someone may call for a pickup right now. So Yellow Cab will have 30 minutes in order to pick them up. They do have a few trips that are scheduled, and so those scheduled trips, just say if you have a 10 o'clock scheduled pickup, that window will start at 9:30, But if you call right now, it's 30 minutes from the time that you make the call.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Williams?
Thank you. If you could go back to the page 16 for me as well. When I look at April and May for HART Plus ridership, it's pretty, well, actually, yes, it's higher than June, July, August, and September. So I was just wondering if we utilize our drivers to help support Mr. Haywood's issue when he has struggles in meeting the requirements, the on-time requirements. Is that feasible? Is that what you do with your employees? Or
Unfortunately, it's mostly the opposite. Most of the HART Plus operators do not have CDLs, which would eliminate them from being able to operate on the fixed route service. But when we have manpower challenges, a lot of the standby operators for a bus will come and help out with paratransit.
Okay. So let's take for May.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that's 10 people, and then for June, it's 5 people. Do they take more vacation, or how does that work? Because you don't need a number of people. And I know this is getting into the weeds, but I'm just trying to understand how that works.
So you said for the difference between May and June?
I'm just trying to understand if there is support that's given when you have lower ridership and you have the head count there versus the head count in the other areas where there's like 50% on-time arrival.
During the summer months, we don't utilize a lot of bus operators unless there are major challenges. But that we kind of
the opposite of that. Ridership HART Plus on the bus routes.
You mean, do they move over to bus routes?
Right. So I'm just looking at your ridership for the summer months,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's not as high as it is in your spring months. So would you utilize those people on the bus driver routes to help with the on-time arrival in that area?
Well, one of the things that we discussed is actually making sure that as we bring in new hires, everybody is everybody holds a CDL in order to be able to use them as we need them throughout the operation. But as it stands now, most of the HART Plus operators do not have a CDL, so they're not able to help out even in those challenging times in the summer.
They can't cross over.
They cannot.
They cannot drive. The HART Plus drivers cannot necessarily drive a bus because they don't have the proper licensing.
Yes.
But we could ask them, right?
Can't ask them, they're not licensed. They have to be licensed. They're changing that policy now where they're required to be licensed going into the future.
Okay. Okay. They're changing the policy.
If I could maybe add a little bit more context. So what we have right now, for all intents and purposes, is a workforce segregated by skill, right? There is some interoperability where some operators are qualified to do both, but it's not throughout the entire workforce. What we've been talking about lately is when we recruit a new hire, that they will come in as almost a universal employee, where they will be trained in all different facets. Now, as you would imagine, there's labor connotations with that we're gonna have to work through, but that is our goal, to ultimately get to the point where you're an operator, you're not classified necessarily by a certain skill set.
Thank you. You resolved my question, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? I do have one. Do we ever deal with the other organizations that are involved with the Transportation Disadvantaged Coordinating Board, i.e. the veterans, the elder services, the Division of Blind Services? Do you ever get any special requests from them? Because I know for about the last year, I've been beating everybody up on the meeting. You guys come to the meeting, you don't say anything. It says, this is a Friday morning out of the office for you. We're here to provide a service, but you got to tell us what your problems and needs are. Do you ever get any kind of outreach from anybody? And no is a
Yes, sir.
viable answer.
I mean, we don't get a lot of requests. However, I've been in communication with Jerry from Sunshine Line.
Yeah.
So we kind of been, partnering. Like when the COA came out, we had conversations on how that would impact them. So, I mean, but that's to the extent of the conversations with outside entities right now.
I know Jesus has to listen to me beat the drum and get on my soapbox every time we meet, but it's like, you guys want help, but nobody ever says what they need. So,
Yes.
we can't, when we did that, I'd go buy my lottery ticket and wouldn't care. So, anyway, okay, well, thank you any other questions? Good presentation, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Nicholas Goldberg, Director of Fleet Maintenance, sir.
Good morning, Chair, Mr. Dranville, members of committee, staff. My name is Nicholas Goldburn. I'm the Director of Fleet Maintenance. I'll be presenting your June, July, August, and September Fleet Maintenance Monthly Metric Report. Our AM fixed route availability goal is to have 80% of the fleet available for pullouts in the morning. There's cause and effect in the changes made on the paratransit side. Historically, we've applied a firefighting methodology between managing the paratransit and the fixed route fleet. Since September, we have allocated a dedicated team focused solely on increasing our service availability for vehicles that support the paratransit service. As such, we saw a decline in September of 75%. This is mainly due to not having enough human capital resources available to maintain both fleets. But overall, we've maintained a steady fleet availability of around 79 to 80% prior. We're working towards bringing this KPI back up. Safety inspections, FTA and FDOT require that we conduct an inspection with on-time compliance of no than 80%. For June, that compliance was 99%, July was 97%, August and September were both 100%. For FY25, we completed all inspections with an on-time compliance of 89%. We did have 1 month, early December, that caused the decline to 89% over the prior year. Fixed route system reliability. Our goal is to drive 15,000 miles between major mechanical failures. In 2023-24, we had situations where the fleet's met its useful life. We weren't investing heavily in the capital. Upon realization that we have a major capital backlog and we will not be receiving any new buses until possibly 2027, staff and I decided to invest heavily in the current fleet. As a result, summer of 2025, we've had our best year in 3 years. Now, I want to preface this with a context that it's extremely expensive to invest in vehicles that have met their useful life. However, we have no choice at the moment. So we typically replace the engine transmission in a bus every 300,000 miles. As everyone here is aware, they only have a lifespan of 500,000 miles. So we're doing it twice versus once. Next slide. Fare card elimination. I want to report to this committee that we had a successful project in launching our fare card elimination. In the first 6 months prior to eliminating fare cards in January, we had 1,800 fare box failures. The 6 months after we eliminated the fare card, we had 938 failures. That's almost a 50% reduction in failures. Cost saving wise, we're looking at anywhere between $100,000 to $200,000 in savings. But the most important part of this elimination process is the customer experience. We removed 50% of the failures customers face as they're trying to board the vehicle, which results in a better ride experience, not having to tackle a bad fare box. Also wanted to give this committee an update on action items approved by the board for vehicle purchases. We have 40 vehicles on order to support paratransit service. In July 2024, the board authorized the purchase of 14 Ford Transit cutaways. At time of putting the slides together, we had 1 in production. Most recent updates, we now have 3 in production, with delivery scheduled to begin in November and run all the way through February for those 14 vehicles. Earlier this year, the board authorized the purchase of 36 SUVs. Last week, we started accepting deliveries of those 36 vehicles. Today, we have 6 on property, and they're going to be rolling in over the next 3 weeks. Once they arrive on property, there's a lot of work to be done by staff. We're going to have to get these vehicles branded. We got to install their communication equipment, cameras, and a few other items such as fare collection technologies. That concludes my report. Any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Nieberg?
Thank you for the presentation. I have 3 questions, and they sort of all overlap each other, and I'll try to present them efficiently so that I don't belabor the points. You stated that there's been a focus on the paratransit, and that has come at the expense of the fixed route, as evidenced by, I think, an 85%, which was below your target. Can you help me understand the motivation behind the focus on the paratransit at the expense of the fixed route?
So we're down roughly 20% on our staff and technicians. So what increase you saw on Mr. Sacker's slide 16, I believe it was, you saw an increase in trips. You need vehicles to provide those trips. So we've historically gone back and forth. We would try and maintain 80% on fixed route and at the expense of our paratransit fleet availability. When we focus on paratransit, fixed route would decline. But since we're bringing the trips back in-house, or at least the majority of the trips back in-house, I have to maintain the paratransit availability at a higher rate.
So it's the shift from the yellow cab that increases the requirements on the paratransit that
Correct.
Motivated that focus from fixed route. And I understand that there's a constraint with respect to qualified human resource to keep those things up and going. And that sort of leads me into the second question, which is your mean distance between failures. It looks like the investments made into the fixed route has paid off starting in May. I understand your point about the much higher cost than if you had the flexibility to recapitalize those assets. And am I to understand from your presentation that each morning the driver or the inspector on the overnight will identify what amounts to a gripe, and then that gripe might prevent the dispatch of the vehicle, and then it's a triage effect for the
Correct.
supervisors? And then finally, and this is really in preparation for the next item, or one of the next items on the agenda, you gave us some data on the fare box and how the number of failures on the fare box have decreased. That seems to be correlated with maybe less of them being used as part of the Fare One free fare, which is going to be going away early next year. And then you throw out $100,000 to $200,000 savings estimated on that decreased maintenance expense. Can you provide a little bit of color on that, just so that I can maybe understand how, I don't know, is there still an effort underway to continue that past January 4th, or are we done with the free fare past January 4th?
Well, we're done, as of January 1st, we're done with the free fares.
Okay, so there's no squeezing of the balloon arguments to be made there. So I'll not ask the third question, but thank you very much.
Okay.
I have one follow-up question. You were talking about the fixed route buses, where we're going to try and, because we don't have any coming in until 2027. What about the ones we just ordered? How many, is that the ones we're talking about?
Yes, Nick, I believe the lead time went from like 12 months to 18 months.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
But
correct.
that's- Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Williams.
I did see the new paratransit buses, cars that came in, and they're really sleek. And that's good work, considering we weren't gonna get anything. So I thank you guys for the work you did behind the scenes to make that happen. The other call out, I was in an ADA meeting, and I learned that 70% of the trips you guys were making within 30 minutes. And then the other 25 or so percent, there was some other category, were just over an hour. So, that's phenomenal. Those are great numbers to be able to pick up paratransit in that period of time. So I just want to call that is great work for the team to get that high of percentage within that period of time for
Thank you.
paratransit.
Team effort, ma'am.
Thank you.
Very good. No other questions? Thank you very much. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith. Good morning, sir. We're going to hang meat here next, aren't we?
You're welcome. Good morning, Chair, committee members, Mr. Drainville, Dale Smith, Director of Facilities. I'll be presenting the Facilities Department update. We'll begin with a snapshot of our work orders completed by our route maintenance team. And we've made a lot of steady progress here, but we did fall slightly short of our goals over this period due to staffing shortages. We're actively addressing this and expect to have 2 new employees on board soon and help us get back to meet our goals. The next slide highlights our facilities' work orders completed. This includes our monthly, quarterly, and annual preventive maintenance tasks, as well as our demand work orders. Those represent, those represent unscheduled repairs and service requests completed by the team. In July, our management team and maintenance employees joined forces to cook and serve some delicious food for our annual maintenance barbecue. This event was a great way to celebrate everyone's hard work and dedication throughout the year. It was a fun and successful gathering that showed how much we value our team and their commitment to the agency. This event was funded, prepared, and served by staff. The Facilities Department also removed and replaced some outdated millwork in the copy rooms for the IT and HR office areas, providing a more modern and functional workspace for staff. We also installed a new chiller in the heavy maintenance building to replace the aging unit. This new system will improve comfort, cooling, and increase energy efficiency across the facility. This is the entrance lane to our property off of 21st Avenue. It was worn due to heavy traffic at the property entrance, so the roadway was seal coated and restriped for better visibility. The Facilities Department has completed several projects focusing on improving safety for both employees and patrons. These include the removal of landscaping that was blocking visibility at the Northwest Transit Center, the installation of additional signage. Here we replaced some carpet where we had a water pipe break, so we replaced some carpet along the operations control area and near our training centers. We also installed some safety signage and some new lighting. The additional lighting is installed along some walkways so that it's better lit at night as our operators are going to their buses for pull-up. Some more of our safety issues were the installation of a mirror check station. The operators are able to check their mirrors at this station as they pull out. If they have a problem with the adjustments, they're able to take a right turn, go to Bay 20, and have a mechanic address that issue right away. We were also having an issue with tree strikes, some low-hanging trees that were out on the roadways. Our buses, mostly the CNG buses, which are a little taller, were striking these limbs. We partnered with the Forestry Department, and we've been able to address these issues, get these limbs addressed. We have a system where we log the tree strikes, the locations. We contact the Forestry Department if we're not able to do it in-house, and they remove the hazard for us. This improves the safety for our operators and our patrons. In July, the route maintenance team installed some new shelters, Hanley Road and New Orleans Avenue and Gibsonton Drive and Kenya Road. This was some site work that was being done, and our route maintenance team installed the shelters. In August, we put in 3 shelters, Main Street and Willow, Main Street and Rome, which were companion shelters, and these installations support the efforts to enhance passenger amenities and improve access to public transportation within our system. And in September, we also installed 3 shelters. Hillsborough and 43rd Street, 21st Avenue in Nebraska, and Dale Mabry and Gaither. This installation supports continued efforts to enhance our passenger amenities. HART currently maintains 299 shelters, of which 104 are new style shelters. And 54 of those were installed directly by our route maintenance team. The contractor installed shelters that we get, those can cost as much as $11,700 per unit for a contractor to install them. By completing these installations in-house, we've been able to stretch our resources further and deliver more shelters to our community. However, due to our current workload, the number of shelters that in-house staff can install does remain limited. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer.
Do you have any questions? Mr. Nieberg?
Really, the last question, you said the in-house staff is limited in their ability to implement new shelters, which I understand. Can you give me some understanding of what that means in terms of the number of shelters per unit? Any better clarity on that?
Sure. So our staff is busy maintaining the 299 shelters, 2,000 bus stops throughout the county. So we're out there addressing all of them with picking up trash, emptying trash, pest control, repairing lights on solar light systems. So we have a lot of different day-to-day activity that we have to do. And when we put those to the side to install a shelter will take 4 to 5 guys all day. Sometimes 2 days. We have to go out and select the parts and then spend the day actually installing it. So when we install a shelter, it does put us a little behind on our day-to-day activities.
I understand maybe the global perspective on that, but just in terms of a rate of shelter completion, if there were no third party, to what extent, maybe on an annual basis, might the in-house staff be able to do a new shelter on, say, a quarterly or annual basis? Is there any ability for you to help me understand the number of shelters that there might be with remaining available effort from the in-house team?
Yeah, we install about 1 a month, maybe two a month. Sometimes we actually got up to 3 a month, whereas a contractor can install between 8 and 10 a week.
8 to 10 a week at 11,000 versus the number that you
And
just said.
that number does
monthly
range
basis.
a little between 6 and 11,000. And it's kind of at Dwayne's discretion. He runs the BTI program, and as quickly as he needs these things put out, he makes the decision. He attempts to use in-house labor as much as possible, but if he starts running behind on installs, he'll use the contractors.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Hartfield, I think you raised your hand. Okay, very good. Any other questions? Appear to be done. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Campbell, you're recognized.
Good morning, Chair, Directors, CEO Drainville. My name is Richard Campbell, again, Chief Safety Officer, and I'll be reporting the safety metrics for the months of June, July, August, and September. Or maybe not. Yeah, I'll just get a photo.
It did it.
It's slow. Take it. It'll be easy. All right. Good morning again. So for the months of June, July, August, and September, if I could turn your attention for the months of June, we had 5 injuries reported, 1 safety event, 2 assaults. For the month of July, we had 0 injuries, 2 safety events, and 3 assaults. For the month of August, 1 injury, 1 safety event, 5 assaults. And for the month of September, 6 injuries, 5 safety events, and 4 assaults. That's for the fixed route. Turn your attention to the graph. For fixed route, as you see for the month of June, we were at 0.93, which is just below our 1.10 goal. For the month of July, we didn't have any. For the month of August, we were at 0.18. And for the month of September, we had a slight uptick of 1.12. For fixed route safety events, for June, 0.19, July, 0.36, August, 0.18, and for September, 0.93. For paratransit, for the same time period, we had 0 to report in June, 0 to report in July. In August, we had 2 injury reports, 1 safety event. In September, we had 1 safety event. Streetcar, 2 safety events in the month of June, 0 safety events in July, 1 injury. 1 injury in August, 1 assault, 1 injury in September. For preventable and non-preventable accidents, for the month of June, 2 preventable incidentals, 2 preventable accidents, 18 non-preventable accidents, 9 preventable incident, 0 preventables in July, 12 non-preventable. For the month of August, 4 preventable incidentals, 2 preventable accidents, 16 non-preventables, and for the month of September, 5 preventable incidentals, 8 preventable, and 20 non-preventable accidents. Any questions?
September was a rough month.
Back in school.
Back at school. Mr. Hartfield.
How do we define assaults?
So for these months, it's unfortunate to say that we have these assaults, but I am glad to say they're all verbal. So in these, they're non-physical, but we still categorize it as assault. So turning to my notes here, we've had, in these prospective months, non-major, non-physical. It turns out a customer yelling at an operator, or making a threat or something like that we treat the same way, but they weren't physical. They didn't touch the operator in any way.
Any other questions? Mr. Weaver.
I want to ask this question, I guess, carefully, because I think incidents like Officer Baker, I think, happen often, and they don't always reach that level of public exposure. But the incident where she, I think, found the young child and then brought that child back into safety and took other corrective actions, which I think is wonderful, and I don't know to what extent there's anything maybe in mind to further recognize that or to at least promote the vigilance. But does that fit into any of your safety reports? Is that a safety event, or is that outside of the data that you collect for the purposes of this report?
Yeah, that would be outside of the. So we're normally looking at accidents or incidents like this. This is definitely a positive. I shun to think what would have happened if she hadn't been there and found that child. But it's not something that we see on a regular basis, so we don't record it.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Williams.
I think I put in a request for us to recognize, or I think it came to you for us to recognize when we see events such as that. I think that was just somebody that cares and care. And we think of HART, Hillsborough Transit Authority, but they do have HART. They go out of their way to make sure people are cared for, and we need to recognize and acknowledge that more often.
Okay. Any other questions? Appear to be none. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you.
Report. Appreciate it. Okay, next presentation is an update on Route 1 pilot service. Heather, you are recognized to provide an overview.
Thank you. Good morning again, Chair and board members. Okay, so this presentation is to give a summary of the data we've collected. Oh, Mike. Okay, sorry. The data we've collected from a ridership standpoint and also from the 3 surveys we've conducted so far of Route 1 riders and operators. So the Route 1 pilot started in January 5th, 2025, with the City of Tampa providing funding to improve frequency and to make the service fare-free for a year. The route was selected because the corridor is a priority for future BRT service, bus rapid transit service, and because it had the highest daily ridership of any route at over 3,000 riders a day. It also has a high rate of transfers to the streetcar and then also connects to 70% of the bus network. So the primary objective was to determine whether improved frequency and free fares would grow ridership even more. It's not working. Thank you. So these graphics show that not only has ridership grown on weekdays and weekends, but that on-time performance has also performed on weekdays, likely due to the faster boarding associated with no fare payment. On the weekends, on-time performance did go down a bit, likely due to overcrowding associated with having the lower frequency. But with that said, ridership growth from a percentage standpoint was higher on weekends than weekdays, even though frequency was not improved on weekends. Next slide. Thank you. So we conducted surveys quarterly, which is part of our agreement with the city. And so from the 3 surveys we've already conducted, we've learned that at least 25% of the riders are new to the route, and that 30% of our regular riders responded that they use Route 1 more than they did before, although they did comment that overcrowding was an issue. 81% of riders said they would continue to ride when fares return. 63% connect to other routes and take advantage of the fare capping. From the operator perspective, higher passenger loads were reported, but boarding times were either similar or improved due to the free fares. So we have one more survey that we'll conduct in the December timeframe before the new year. Next slide. So for the ridership data, we noticed that some people did shift from the Route 400 to the Route 1, likely because of the free fares. But we wanted to see if there was net new ridership in the quarter. And so this graph shows that there actually was new ridership. So for example, in August, there was about 35,000 new trips compared to August of the prior year. Next slide. From a cost perspective, the added frequency and the absence of fares on both on the Route 1 and associated paratransit trips cost about $1.65 million. About $1 million of that cost was associated with the fare-free element. And so that was fare-free on both fixed route and paratransit. Next slide. So as mentioned earlier, the city is providing funding for 2026 to maintain the frequency on the weekdays, but also to add frequency on the evenings and weekends at about a cost of $1.35 million. Next. And this is just a graphic to show the improved frequencies. So you'll see that we're maintaining the 15-minute frequency on weekdays, but then evenings and weekends are going from 30-minute frequency to 20-minute frequency. Next slide. So in summary, we believe that overall the pilot was a success by providing a positive incentive to try transit with a frequency that allows people to just go out to a bus stop and know that a bus will come in at least 15 to 20 minutes. By also improving access and affordability, by increasing ridership, as I mentioned earlier, over 5,000 on weekdays, and then also improving on-time performance. Some of the negatives we heard from both operators and riders just included overcrowding, non-destination riders, and decreased on-time performance on weekends. And we believe some of that will be solved with the fares coming back. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, any comments? Mr. Hartfield?
Yes, so thank you for the presentation. Okay. Sorry, thank you for the presentation. So what did we learn through this process? What's the profile of our riders, new riders? Just in general, can you identify what did we learn through this experiment?
Well, we believe that the increased frequency is really what promotes the additional ridership.
Okay.
Because people do need to know that they can just go out and they don't really have to look at a schedule. They can go out and know a bus is coming. We've also had a lot of positive community sentiment in terms of some groups of people going out and doing like ride-alongs, going to happy hours, like, you know, just new riders that hadn't ridden the bus before. So that's been a real positive benefit. Yeah, that's the majority of, I think, what we've learned.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. King?
Again, thank you for your presentation. Would you think that doing something like this with other routes would be beneficial for improving ridership across the county, not just within the city of Tampa per se?
Yes. So I think, well, I mentioned in my earlier presentation, we're conducting the comprehensive operational analysis. So we have some recommendations to improve frequency, for example, on Route 38, which goes out to Mango and Brandon. I definitely, I mean, I know just from an industry standpoint, as you improve frequency, you grow ridership. I mean, that is standard. So we are looking at making improvements across the county, not just in the city.
Right. I'm thinking in terms of inducing new ridership. In other words, getting new customers to try, riding the bus.
Yeah, and as we make improvements to other routes with the COA, which will be in June 2026, we will do a lot of marketing and promotions to grow ridership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can offer, I have a question and a comment. The question is, what's a non-destination rider? They just ride in a circle, or?
Yeah, sometimes people
Really?
ride to get
Okay.
air conditioning in
Okay,
the summer.
okay. All right, and then second comment, I know I've been preaching this, and I know a lot of fellow board members have been preaching this for a long time. It's one of the reasons why we need to increase funding, increase our frequency. Not free buses, but increase the frequency. That's the lifeblood of any transit agency. And if we can't supply that, why are we here? So, yeah, but it takes money to do that. And we don't have those kind of funds right now. And it's getting harder and harder to do that. So anyway, but, okay, very good. Thank you for your presentation. It's nice. Appreciate it. Item 7C, Route 1 Fare Free Pilot Wind Down Marketing Campaign. Mr. Frank Wazinski, you're recognized.
All right, Frank Wazinski, Manager, Marketing Communications. Good morning, committee members, CO Drainville. I'm going to be giving a brief overview of the communications outreach plan for the end of the Route 1 Fare Free pilot. The goal is to ensure a smooth, informed transition back to regular fares on January 5th. So brief agenda, this presentation is going to cover the objectives and targets of the campaign, messaging and tone, campaign timeline, and the tactics we'll use to get the word out about the pilot ending. Lastly, I'll take any questions the committee may have. Our objectives with the campaign are straightforward. We're looking at awareness, preparation, and smooth operations. We aim to prevent confusion and payment delays when Route 1 fares resume. The key objectives are to ensure customers know a fare is ending, prompt early fare readiness, ensure customers know frequency improvements will remain and expand to weekends, minimize boarding delays, and highlight the overall success of the pilot. So we'll be doing some type of a Route 1 by the numbers that highlight the ridership increase, on-time performance increase, also the customer sentiment that Heather had touched on a bit. Route 1 serves a broad mix of riders, and as we saw, roughly about 25% of those riders we found to be new to HART. And so we'll be looking to have a heavy how to pay your fare portion to this, while focusing on regular and occasional users while leveraging our partners such as the City of Tampa to amplify the message through our trusted local channels. So the main key message, be fare ready, sets the tone for the campaign. Simple, direct, and rider first. It reassures while encouraging proactive preparation. I've included some examples of the Route 1 branding that we've used throughout the pilot. You can find these at all the stops along the route. Customers are familiar with this. We've used this with all of our collateral. You can see we've done monthly updates on the ridership increases year over year and on-time performance as well. We'll keep the same general look of the campaign, both with simple icons and the high contrast palette. The campaign builds gradually. We're going to have a soft launch of signage along the route in October, along with 2 months of light weekly exposure, followed by a strong December push leading to launch week, ensuring riders are ready but not fatigued before fares resume. This campaign meets riders where they are, on buses, at stops, online, and through community partners and businesses along the route. So you can see some of the tactics we'll be looking to use: interior cards, onboard announcements, our transit app pop-up. We'll be having in-person outreach at the transit centers, as well as having community newsletter outreach. On the digital side, we'll be doing countdowns leading up to this. Like I said, a lot of how to pay your fare, and also doing FAQs for our customers as well. And with that, this concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Wazinski? All I gotta say, maybe it's just I'm getting older, but that year went fast. That went fast.
Absolutely. That's the thing about that is, with the 25% new riders to this, it really brings a great opportunity to possibly, hook them. Because what we did find in the survey as well was that roughly about 70% or 80% of riders said even with the fare coming back, that they would continue to use the route. So.
And that's because of the increased frequency. That just underscores the importance of it and how critical we need to continue with that. Okay, thank you very much. 7D, House Bill 1301, Compliance Reporting, Finance. Miss Melody, I thought you were going to have a meeting without having to do anything. Welcome, good morning, you're recognized.
All right. Good morning, Chair, Mr. Drainville, and the members of the committee. So this is an annual compliance report required by the state of Florida. Just to give a background, effective July 1st, 2024, Chapter 2024-57 amends Section 341.071 Florida statutes, and this is transit productivity and performance measures. This was a new provision required by the public transit providers to disclose certain information and documentation related to its budgeted and general administrative costs. Beginning November 1st, 2024, and every year thereafter, public transit agencies are required to report certain transit productivity and performance measures. And this slide just shows the actual bill, which is the Florida House Bill 1301. So these reports are also posted. It just shows that it's posted on the website, HART's website, and at a dedicated page. It's actually a separate web page under the it's a separate web page. This is to ensure transparency and eliminate extra steps for the public to navigate our website in search of this information. So this just shows that where it's located on HART's website. And then I'll go over the 5 requirements. The first requirement is to certify whether the transit agency's admin costs are above or below state average. At this time, FDOT has not provided the state average, but HART response is based on the adopted FY 2024 budget. HART certifies that its FY 2024 administrative costs are 21.58% of the operating costs, which we do anticipate being lower than the state average administrative costs plus 20%. But again, that the state average has not been posted for FY 2024 yet. Requirement 2 is the report on the line item budget report of its budgeted and actual general administrative costs for the previous year. So here you see FY 25, the budget to actual for FY 25. And this is a preliminary budget to actual because we are still finalizing the 2025 bucks, but we do have this line item budget to actual report here. Requirement 2 is to report all salary executive management level employees' total compensation packages. And this is what's posted on the website, and it shows that we do have the display, reported the executive salaries there. Requirement 4 is to report the ridership performance and matrix based on the most recent closeout entity data, which is 2024, but we also have the ridership information for 2025 on the website. And then the last requirement, which is requirement 5, is to list any gifts as defined in section 112.312 accepted in exchange for contracts. And HART certifies that no gifts have been accepted in exchange for contracts. And that includes the requirements for the compliance reports. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions or comments for Ms. Williams? Mr. Lieber.
Just one comment, and I think it's a credit to HART and the leadership team, but from looking at this, the administrative costs came in at 1.2 million less than what was projected, which allows me at least to conclude just tremendous efficiency in management and operational execution. So, well, I guess not operational, specifically administrative, but that's a good job.
Okay.
I agree. Any comment, any additional questions, comments? Thank you, Ms. Williams.
All right, thank you.
Good presentation. Okay, next on the agenda, Mr. Drainville, you're recognized to share updates on the procurement monitoring reporting.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, committee members, staff. Start off with sole source awards. There were 4 sole source procurements since the last board report in September. I think the first that we can all appreciate was to Schindler Elevator Corporation in the amount of $11,039. Following an elevator shutdown, a proposal was received for the repairs to be made over a weekend and to place the elevator back in service. This procurement was conducted as an emergency procurement consistent with the HART Procurement Manual 3-206. Next was Innovations in Transportation, or INIT, in the amount of $488,722. On September 8, 2025, the HART Board authorized improvements to the regional electronic fare collection system, adding new features such as a fare cap on First Tap mobile app replacement, enabling EuroPay, MasterCard, and Visa card registration, the ability to use promo codes on the website to enhance the shopping experience, and streamline promotional offers, among others. Next was to Sterry-Coney bus lifts, repairs in the amount of $90,563. The Sterry-Coney post lifts in the heavy maintenance and preventative maintenance shops required an upgrade to wireless technology to improve reliability and functionality. A total of 28 post lifts were converted from wireless to wired to wireless operation. Due to the proprietary nature of the technology, heavy-duty lift and equipment, a factory representative from Sterry-Coney is the only authorized service provider for the Tampa Bay area authorized to complete the upgrade. And lastly, the Automatic Data Processing Incorporated, or ADP, in the amount of $15,081. ADP has HART's Human Capital Solution since contract award was made in September of 2017. The Human Resources Department seeks to provide employees with total reward statements. This includes employee-paid benefits such as health insurance, retirement contributions, life and disability coverage, and other programs. Moving on to task order contracts monitoring, there was 2 BTI construction task orders have been issued since the September board meeting. One to American Construction Services Incorporated to reseal and restripe Northwest Park and Ride Lot. A second task order was issued to AJ General Construction for BTI on-call construction services for various tasks such as bus stop landing pads, shelters, and amenities installation, emergency work at various HART locations. $2,129,178.20 in task orders have been issued, with $2,870,821.80 remaining. There was 2 A&E design services task orders were issued since the September board meeting. One task order was issued to Kimberly Horner and Associates Incorporated to design a shelter pad and landing pad on Spruce Street and Marie Avenue. The second task order was issued to Kimberly Horner and Associates to design an accessible ramp to connect McDonald Training Center to the bus stop at West Cypress Street. $460,921.33 in task orders have been issued, with $1,157,339.28 remaining. There is no general consultant service task orders have been issued since September board meeting. Notice of solicitations. There's 1 notice was issued since the September board meeting. A solicitation for life, accidental death, and dismemberment and long-term disability insurance. And that concludes my report.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Okay, information items included in the committee package are finance reports for June, July of 2025, and a monthly update on the heavy maintenance facility. If anybody has any questions, staff is present to respond. Appearing to be none. This concludes all regular business of this committee. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for a full quorum. Appreciate it, and staff for your good reports. Have a great afternoon.